Number one. Number one, we have in parentheses 8 plus 3n squared. Jordan, we aren't playing with glue today. We don't need the glue.
Oh man, we're already going out.
Minus 2n to the third power. So we're starting with a what type of polynomial?
It's another one.
Trinomial. Good, and it is a polynomial. Is it in standard form?
Yup.
No. Okay, minus, and then in parentheses, negative 7 plus 8n to the third power plus 7n to the second power. Alright, so as we work through this, couple of things. One, we're really looking at combining like terms. Remember, like terms means that they have the same variable parts. Some people, when they go through this, they like to work left to right. So they just start with this 8, and they say what matches with the 8. Then they do 3n squared. Then they do 2n to the third. That's fine if that's how you want to do it. In my brain, I'm thinking eventually I have to write this in standard form. So I like to start with my biggest exponent and just organize my work that way. So that way I don't have to do that at the end. Does that make sense? Okay, for me that's working smarter, not harder. But other people, they're like, I don't want to do it that way. It's fine. We're going to get the same answer. Okay? So what is my highest exponent? 3. So I'm going to start with my n to the third powers. This is where I'm using my colors again. I prefer to color code. So I have n to the third power. Where do I have an n to the third power? Good. I have this negative 2n to the third power. Good. 7. What?
No, it's the 8.
8n. I think you saw the... 7 has an exponent, but it's exponent of 2, so not quite. I was about to do it. I usually trust Dane with all my life, but steering me wrong on that one. Dane, you just wanted to embarrass me in front of everyone, right? I know. I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just joking. All right, we got that negative 2n to the third power, so that's going to go first.
6.
Whoa.
Right.
Now, today what's really important is that this minus sign has to be there in that first part. Minus.
What's a positive?
And then 8n to the third. So, if you need to use a calculator, please do. If you need to use Desmos.
No. Desmos really bad.
Why didn't you make my thingy?
Alright, negative 2 minus 8. I can use my calculator for that if I want. It's like I have 2 negatives, and I'm doing 8 more negatives. I'm going backwards 8. Where do I end up at? Negative 10.
Because I thought we were adding.
Yeah, when we were adding, it would have been 6. Negative 10 n to the third power. Thanks, Mr. Kwan. Sorry. All right, after n to the third power, what is my next one? N to the second power. I don't know, Mr. Kwan was just dropping everything back here. Just making a mess. That's sometimes funny. Alright, n to the second power. We could do underline if you don't like to use colors. I'm going to just underline with my color.
Negative.
So what do we have for n squareds? Good. 3n to the second. 7n to the second.
Negative 10, right?
So I have 3n squared. Let's write it first before you take a guess.
Oh, yeah.
In the middle here, what's going to go? Minus. And then 7n squared. Good. So if I start at 3 and I go backwards 7, I'm going to go into the negatives. I'm going backwards more than I have. Good. Negative 4. If you're not sure, what are you going to do? Use a calculator. Use Desmos. 3 minus 7, negative 4. All right, normally you would go n to the third, n squared, and then n. Do we have any that are just n? Nope. So what are we going to go to next? Constants.
I cannot wait, man. Constants are so cool.
So cool. They're the numbers with no n's. Makes them the coolest. All right, I'm going to box my constants. So those of you not using colors, if you want to use a box, you could do that.
Let them know, let them know.
I'll pass on that one too.
Okay.
Let those little scoundrels know.
Ishmael, Sadiq, focus. All right, what do we got for our constants? 8, negative 7. All right, again, this is where it's really important that we're really taking our time to write this down. So I'm going to start with that first one, 8. What goes in the middle? Minus, and then negative 7. If we want to throw that negative 7 in parentheses, we can. That way we know that that minus and that negative are two separate things.
13.
So when I see a minus, a negative, remember that's like we're taking away, we're going opposite direction. So if I start at 8 and I go opposite of the negatives, 7, which direction am I really going? Positive. I'm really going up. So I'm really going up 7. What's 8 plus 7? 15. So I'm starting at 8 and I'm going the opposite of the negative. So I'm going to go more positive 7 and I end up at positive 15. Remember when we see that subtracting a negative, some people they see that keep switch change or whatever where you change it to like a plus. Okay. So we end up with 15. So again, yesterday a couple people got a little goofed on their homework when it says standard form. They're like, what the heck? What do I do for that?
Move down the
But I
line.
mean, you obviously standard it. But
We standard it, of course. We all want to write our answer in the same way. We have all 3 of these answers. Now, if you did your work differently, these might be in a mixed up order. But because we worked smarter, not harder, at this point, we just have to copy them down the line. So, good, negative 10 and to the third power. Good, if I do minus, is it going to be minus a negative 4 or just minus 4?
Minus.
It's just going to be a minus 4, or we could do a plus negative 4. But we wouldn't do minus a negative. It just would be minus 4n squared. So 15 negative? 15's positive, so we'll do plus 15. Again, my habit is just to box because my 6th grade teacher told me to do it. So that's what I do.
Minus 4 minus negative 4.
What?
So this is negative 4, and so it's minus 4 minus negative 4.
You could do, it's either minus 4 or a plus negative 4, not minus negative. That was a good question. All right, number 2, last one we're doing today. This one's going to be a little bit more complex. You guys ready?
No.
Because you guys did that so fast. You don't need another easy one, do you?
Yeah, we do.
So you want to do 3 problems?
yes.
No. All right, here we go. Negative 8x to the 5th power plus 4x to the 4th power. So we're going to start with that binomial. Minus, and then in parentheses,
Negative.
How do you know that?
Because always the first one is negative and the second one. -4.
I do get in that habit. That's really funny. Negative 4x squared. I don't know. That's really funny. Plus 3x to the 4th power. Minus 2x to the 3rd power. Plus,
Oh, another negative.
I don't know, negative 3x squared.
That was right.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I think you're right. I think I just always start with a negative. I don't know why.
Not always.
Plus 7x to the 4th power.
Only on the second one.
All right, so we got a lot going on in this one. So make sure you got that one written down correctly. Double check it.
The first one is a negative, right? Yeah.
All right, again, as we work our way through it, I like to work through it with my standard form. So I'm going to look for my highest exponent.
-8.
The highest exponent is 5, yep, which is the negative 8. Good. So I'm going to start with x to the 5th power. Okay, I'm going to use yellow for that one. If you want to use, instead of colors, you could always use those boxing techniques, circling, underlining, things like that.
We're going to add 0, right?
Okay, where do we see an x to the 5th power?
The first one.
Good, negative 8x to the 5th power. Any other ones?
No.
Nope. So we're going to start with that one, negative 8x to the 5th power for my first polynomial. I'm still going to use that minus sign. How many x to the 5ths are in our second polynomial? None. 0. What comes after that 0? What symbol? A minus or a plus?
Negative.
A plus, because that's our second part here is a plus. So I always want to match that plus. And then how many x to the 5ths are in this last one? None. So 0. This one, again, feels a little silly to put in those zeros because negative 8 plus minus 0 plus 0, what do we get? Negative 8. Good. So negative 8 x to the 5th power. Minus 0 plus 0 does nothing. All right, after x to the 5th power, what's my next biggest exponent? 4. So x to the 4th power. All right, I'm going to use orange for that one. Good, so in my first polynomial, I have 4x to the 4th power.
7x.
Good, 3x to the 4th. This one?
Positive.
That's a plus there. I think you're thinking one step ahead, Dean. And then a 7x to the 4th.
So that 7x is a positive.
Yep, and that's a positive too because it has that plus. Good. All right, I'm going to make sure I write them in order. And when I write them in order, I want to make sure I use the same operations in between as I work my way through. So in my first polynomial, I'm starting with 4x to the 4th power. Oh. What's in between our first polynomial and the second? A minus sign. So that minus sign has to go in between. Every time that minus sign gets put there. And then what are we minusing? What is in our second one? 3x to the 4th. That plus just tells us it's a positive, so we just do the minus and then that number. And then what are we doing with our last polynomial? Adding 7x to the 4th.
So it'll be 1 and then...
When we add and subtract in our order of operations, it's always left to right. So we're going to just work our way from the beginning to the end. So 4 minus 3
1
is 1.
plus 7, 8.
1 plus 7, 8. So 8x to the
They're both the same.
4th power. Alright, I'm done with this first polynomial. Does that mean that's my answer?
No.
No. We still have other x's going on there. So next up after x to the 4th power, what do we have?
3.
Is there an x to the 3rd?
Yes.
Oh, there is. Good. Alright, x to the 3rd power. None in my first. I have negative 2x to the 3rd power. And nothing over there. Alright, so this is the part where zeros become a really big deal. Because some people would look at this and they're like, oh, it's just negative 2x to the 3rd. Done. But because of this minus, it goofs everything up a little bit. So I'm going to go through and think of my first, second, and third. So in the first polynomial, this binomial, do I have any x to the 3rds? No. So that starts with 0. Then what's my first operation? Minus.
3x.
What was in my second polynomial? Negative 2x to the 3rd power. If you want to put that in parentheses, we can to keep that minus and negative separate. And then do we have any x to the 3rds in the last one?
Oh, so it's adding. So it's positive 2.
So because of that minus negative 2, if I do 0 minus a negative,
It's a positive.
it's really like adding a positive. And if you're not sure, again, those negatives, I know we struggle with some days, and that's okay. I struggle with negatives most days. Mostly negative self-talk. But all right, 0 minus negative 2 plus 0. If we need to type that in our calculator, we can. Make sure we have that minus negative. We could put in parentheses there.
Do we have to?
No. Desmos is smart enough to know if you use Desmos. If you use your own calculator on your phone, you might need to. And we end up with a positive 2.
Is it decimal AI?
What? They have AI, but no, this one's just a regular calculator. It's programmed the same as a normal calculator. It's like a scientific calculator, like the ones that cost like $100 at Target.
I have one of those.
Yeah, this one's just free. All right, after x to the 3rd, what do we have next? X to the 2nd. All right, where do I have my x to the 2nd?
Second and third.
In the second, I have this negative 4x squared.
And then negative 3x squared.
Negative 3x squared.
Yeah.
So again, putting in those zeros today with the minusing and the subtracting is really important. So do I have any x squareds in this first binomial?
No.
No, so we need to put a 0 there. But what is our first operation? Minus. So minus needs to go there.
Plus.
What's in my second second trinomial there? 4 or negative 4?
Negative 4.
Negative 4x squared. What's my second operation?
Negative 3x squared.
A plus. Good. And then negative 3x to the 2nd. If you're putting this in your calculator, remember if you put in those x squareds, your calculator will be like, what? What's happening? So we got to be smarter than our calculator. Which parts of this problem, if I was going to put in my calculator, would I actually put in?
0, 4, 3.
Good, the coefficients, the numbers in front. So I'm going to start with 0 minus negative 4 plus negative 3. The reason I really like Desmos is I can double check that I did that minus negative correctly. If you just use your phone calculator, it like gets rid of it and it's hard to see, did it do the minus negative or did it just have one minus? Here I can see, nope, it did minus negative. And we end up with, anyone want to take S?
1.
Yeah, 1.
I was right.
Nice job. So 1x squared. All right, anything left over that we haven't done yet? Do we have any x's or constants? Nope. So we're ready for our answer.
No.
Again, standard form, we're just putting these in order. We did our work in order. So We can just write it in order. Negative 8x to the 5th power
There you go.
plus, good, plus 2x to the 3rd power. Now, the only option we really have here to customize things to your own ability is instead of saying plus 1x squared, do we have to have a 1?
No, it's just x squared.
Just x squared.
Didn't we do that yesterday?
We did. We just haven't done it a lot in this class. We've done a lot where we change the plus to a minus when it's a negative, but we haven't done a lot where we drop the 1.
Yeah, but I see you.
So that's a little newer for us.